Okay, I'm going to show you how to take a video of your in-class lab and put it on LoggerPro. So we're assuming you've downloaded the program already. If you have issues with that, we can help you out with it a little later. But for now, let's just see how it works. So the first thing you do is you want to get your video into the program. So you press Insert Movie. Go down to Movie. And that's going to show you some file folder in your computer. And you can change the file folder or whatever. And mine, I want to use Niaz and Beatrice's, who kindly lent us their video. And of course, it might take you a little while to find the video and get it on there. If you name the LoggerPro program will only show you video files. So if you name your file on your phone or whatever, you kind of have to put .mov if you have an iPhone or whatever it is. Otherwise, it won't appear there. So if you can't see it, it might be because of the name, you erased the extension off the name, and then LoggerPro won't show it to you. Okay. This is a movie, right? So human beings have never been able to reproduce continuous motion. It looks like it is, but it's not. What is it? It's a bunch of pictures. Yeah. And we call those pictures frames. You've heard of frame rate? Like a refresh rate, like frames per second?
Yeah.
You guys have heard of that? That's the time it takes between the pictures that the computer is showing you. That's what a movie really is. They show us a picture, and they show us another picture, and another picture, and another picture. And if you show those pictures in a short enough time, it looks to us like something's actually moving, even though it's not. So that's really kind of handy for us physicists, because we can look at a frame, and if we can have the computer measure the distance, and if the computer knows the frame rate, then we have a distance and a time. So then we can see velocity and acceleration and all those fun things. The first thing you need to do is tell the computer how big this is, because it doesn't know. You might be filming an ant moving across a little desk, or you might be filming something moving across the mountains and it's, kilometers wide. The computer doesn't know. So we have to give it a little distance. Now, there's some buttons, and later on, you're going to be like, where's all the buttons? Espenhagen showed us all these buttons. I don't have any buttons. Where are the buttons? It's because LoggerPro wanted to make things really complicated. And they have this little Heidi button down here on the bottom right. I'm down here. And if you click on that, then all these buttons appear here. So if your buttons disappear, just click this and you'll see them again. So first thing to do is you hover over this ruler, and it says set scale. I'm going to click on that, and then you'll have this little crosshair, and you're going to drag a green line. Now Niaz and Beatrice intelligently put a meter stick in their video, and I'm going to drag it there. And it comes up with a default of 1 meter. You can change that to anything you want. It can be in centimeters or kilometers or whatever. But I'm going to say, okay, it's 1 meter. So now the computer knows that from here to here is 1 meter, and it will measure everything else off of that. Okay, how do we make the movie move? Well, down here there's a bar, and there's all these play and fast forward buttons, but I wouldn't worry about those. Just grab this little bar, and then you can scrub it ahead, and you can watch the thing go up and down and all this kind of fun stuff. You don't want to start making points until the start of the motion. So Beatrice is just holding this here, and then when we want to start where the block is kind of free and it's just starting to move. So I'm going to set it up about there. Okay, so now we're kind of ready, we're primed, and now we want to start measuring things. But we're on a tilt, right? So we want to measure the motion in line with the ramp. So we're going to set our origin. So if you hover over this button above the ruler, it says set origin. You click on that. And I'm going to click this kind of here where it starts. And then it shows you this yellow origin. So that's just your axes. And if you grab the little dot, you can twist it. So I can turn my origin any which way. And I want to measure in line with my ramp, so I'm going to kind of line it up kind of roughly in line with my ramp. You'll probably do this more carefully than I will, but I'm just going to leave it there. Okay, so now I have an axis in line with my ramp, and I should be able to go. Okay, so now when you're ready to start adding points, you hover on the button just above that, and it says add point. Okay, now you're gonna click on the object that's moving, but you want to be at the front of it because it'll get blurry as it starts to move, and so you want a clear place to put it. So you want to be at the front of the motion. So I'm going to click this corner right here. Now you'll notice that as I click it, the object is moving. Why is it moving every time I click it? Yeah, what happens is every time you add a dot, and you can see these dots kind of forming up as I click them. Every time it clicks it, the computer advances to the next frame, just to make it easier for you. So you guys will take a little bit more care in this, but I'm gonna just do this kind of fast here. Notice how the thing is getting a little bit blurry. And you want to just make sure you're at the front edge of that object. And I'm just going to put those in. Okay, so now we have some dots. And the cool thing is, you can, and just so you know, this is really just a collection of windows. So if I click on my graph here, it's like, oh, cool, we have a graph built. So I have all these points. And if I click over here, I have all my data there. So now I have data and I have graph. And you might go, where's my video? It's still there. You just have to shrink your graph up. And you can pull this data out if you want to. And you'll see you've got a few columns of data there. Okay, so we don't care about these blue dots because that's not in the direction that we want. So we want the X. So if you go to this label here, I'm going to make this graph bigger so you can see it. If you click on these labels, you can tell the computer what you want it to show. So I just want the X, so I'm going to click on the X, and now I have this nice graph. Okay, that's step one of how to get your video in there and get your data and show your curve. I'll show you what to do with the curve later. Your first step is to get to this. Is there any obvious questions? Did I miss anything? Or put your hand if you think you can do that. Okay.